If you follow Malawian politics, you would have heard by now that UTM, Afford, and UDF are in talks for a possible political alliance. And guys, this is huge. And I hate to say it, but last year I kind of predicted this.
I told you so.
Here are some of the predictions that I made about alliances last year.
UTM and UDF. That's a very interesting combination. I think that's something that could happen. Like I keep saying, UDF is a party that we've seen that it's willing to work with other political parties. It's a party that also does not have beef, if I may put it in that way, with other parties. I don't know of any beef that's been there between UDF and UTM. After the passing of the late Saulos Chilima, we saw UDF coming together with UTM, speaking that we should continue the movement that Chilima started. So this is something that I think it can happen.
So in this video, we'll talk about why this is major news, what impact this has on the upcoming 2025 presidential elections, and what options do the other parties have. My name is Brendan, and this is M-dubz Report. Mwatsuka bwanji, mwaswera bwanji, madzulo abwino. Here are my current thoughts. The reason why I actually say that this is big news is because for once, we'll have UDF, UTM, and Afford running as one bloc. If you look at the previous presidential elections, these parties were doing okay, maybe not as good because they were running as individual parties and only having their own supporters rallying behind them. This alliance changes that whole dynamic. What we should also remember is that in the previous presidential elections, MCP had been running, but it was always coming second. The only time that it was able to actually get into power is when it came in as an alliance. And I would say mostly because they brought in UTM as their alliance partner.
Truth be told, no.
Now, the biggest question that most of us will be asking now is that, let's say they come together, they agree. Who will become president? I think that's irrelevant. Why do I think that's irrelevant? I think most parties now have learned a bit of a lesson from how the Tonse Alliance came together and how it disbanded. I feel like whatever agreement these parties come up with, it will be one that may be legally binding, also may be one that's beneficial to all parties involved. One approach is that they can come up with a similar agreement of saying one person will run as president, and if they do win, the person will be president for 5 years. And then let's say after 5 years, the next person who then takes on the presidency will be the vice president. But what you need to understand is that in accordance with the Malawian constitution, a president is allowed to run twice. That is why we see Muntarika running again, Chakwera running again, and that is why we've been hearing that Joyce Banda wants to run again. Even if they were to agree that, okay, each person will run 5 years. After the next 5 years that the other person has run, the first president can also run again, and that will still be within the constitution.
This is interesting.
Another strong point is that we see these three strong political leaders coming together, putting down their pride to form this alliance so that they could increase their chances to win against MCP and DPP.
I know what you mean.
I really think that people can stand behind them, especially because of the appeal that Daliso Kabambe and Atupele have with the youth. Now, we all know that MCP and DPP cannot get over 50% of the votes in these upcoming presidential elections.
That's the truth.
And the parties that they were hoping to align with are already discussing and pretty certain that they will form an alliance. So which parties are they going to align with? I'll leave that with you guys. If you enjoy our content and find it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. I have been your host, Brendan, from M-dubz Report. Zikomo.